And so, civil war divides the armies of mighty Kairos. The reckoning that comes of this failure will be great indeed. We find ourselves in the darkest times. Brothers and sisters who fought for a similar cause now skewer each other over blighted lands in the favor of distant powers. Backing the disfavored was the only logical choice. Graven Ash is the only Archon worthy of your confidence, and you were wise to recognize as much. Naturally, I would have done the same. Whatever others might say about what happened in Vendrian's Well, you acted from instinct. I can't help but respect that. What can I do for you? The thought has crossed my mind from time to time. During the many battles of the Conquest, we found ourselves standing back to back with enemies on all sides on more than one occasion.
The big guy here is as useless as an empty scabbard without his phalanx to keep him alive, but I move fast enough to compensate for it. And it's nice having a living wall of rusted iron I can use for cover.
Absolutely not. Our fighting styles are incompatible, and any disfavored lieutenant will tell you not to join at the hip soldiers who can't stomach each other.
I'm inclined to agree. If you want to pair up fighters, there has to be some great passion or magnetism between them. We don't have it.
Now see here, Verse's temperament and unpredictable ways are an annoyance, but no challenge is beyond my skill. Verse, we should take some time to face off in the sparring fields. It might even improve our disposition towards one another.
I'd rather watch you devour your armor one shaved-off spoonful at a time. But since that isn't going to happen anytime soon, I suppose I'll make an effort.
My Lord Binder, you have something which requires my attention? What can I do for you? We are siblings. Half-siblings. Regrettable and repugnant as that fact might seem, it is true. Though the products of different nations and cultures, we have the distinction of sharing a father. I am disgusted by the thought that my father lay down with some low-born southern farmhand. But my horror does not spare me from the truth of it. So I accept the fact and try to move on.
You should take it as a compliment to our father's skills. My mother's a tough woman to please. I rather think I took after him, don't you?
During the Conquest, the Scarlet Chorus made sport of shooting down messenger birds on their way to the disfavored camp. Anything they could accomplish to hinder our efforts or embarrass us was fair game. My father sent a missive intended for my eyes alone. By incredible chance, Verse intercepted it and recognized the name and handwriting. She found me in camp that evening, and we discussed our unlikely situation. We've done everything in our power to keep the word quiet. Not many in the Legion know that I share blood with a Southerner, much less a chorus rat.
Don't worry, Barrack. When my old gang boss caught wind of our discovery, I killed her and took the gang for myself. Our secret's safe with me. Well, it was, anyway.
Not particularly. She is unstable at the best of times, and a hardened killer at the worst. I don't know what her family did to her, but she lacks any pretense of human decency.
It takes one to know one. Don't act like we're so different, Barrick. You're the most repressed and intolerant soldier I've ever met. You hide it under duty and pride, but it's still there.
Well, Verse has a nasty habit of jabbering in my ear and making this war intolerable. I plan on parting ways and returning to the north at first convenience. My father will answer for his infidelity. Beyond that, I am happy to consider myself in every way unaffected. My superiors once accused me of having an impulsive streak, but I have worked to suppress it at every turn.
When you go back home, send Father my fondest greetings and thanks. If he hadn't gone to ground on my mother's dry dock, I might not be here today.
My heritage was a point of pride and distinction before I met you, Verse. Not that you would care.
I've asked myself about that several times, but unfortunately I don't have what you'd call a definitive answer. The Northerners put a lot of meaning behind family and blood. Seems arbitrary to me, but I don't want to discredit it entirely. I told you about what happened to my Scarlet Fury sisters. The hesitation I experienced. Sometimes I wonder if that wasn't because of my connection to Barrick. He's stubborn, regimented, everything I'm not. I suppose there's no telling for sure, but if I had to guess... Yeah. Sometimes I get messed up in my head, and learning I had a brother has helped me understand that better.
If we must. Well, I cannot imagine what can be gained of traveling together. I grant that we are both proficient fighters, but most days we get along as well as the archons of war and secrets.
So, the Scarlet Chorus and Disfavored are at each other's throats. Can't say I didn't see that coming, but the Archons might have waited until one war was over before they started another. Fighting with the Disfavored. Oh, not the call I would have made, but I'm sure you have your reasons. If you like iron weapons or something about that purple uniform excites you, then be my guest. Who can say? War is all about compromising your morals, deciding who lives and dies. What seems like a mistake turns into your greatest call down the road. Let me make one thing clear, just so that there aren't any misunderstandings. You support Graven Ash, and I couldn't care less. I'm here because you've done what none of the Archons could. Not even the voices of Nerat would fault me that. He's also a complete bastard, and I wouldn't want to miss an opportunity to stab him in the gut and take control of his army. So, there's that. I'll say this much. Our time together is anything but dull. My blades are yours for as long as you'll have me. What do you need?
The thought has crossed my mind from time to time.
The big guy here is as useless as an empty scabbard without his phalanx to keep him alive, but I move fast enough to compensate for it. And it's...
Salutations, Fatebinder. Or should I now call you Lord of Vendrian's Well? The Spire King? Prince of the suggestive vertical slab. So if I might ask, what is your plan now? The edict no longer looms overhead, and Kairos' conquest of the Tears seems to be slipping, what with the armies in civil war. I would counsel you to do just that. I'm sure the events of Vendrian's Well are best explained from your mouth to Tunon's ears. Furthermore, I'd guess the Archon of Justice would want to know your take on the Archons and their divide. My first suggestion would be to build a boat. Something durable, and take our chances on the high seas far from Kairos. I have a second and more practical suggestion. Look to the horizon and slightly up. By that I mean the other spires. We should see what's atop the others. Otherwise someone else might look first. Not nearly enough, apparently. To me, they've always been axioms of navigation. You can triangulate a lot of things with the sextant and a clear view to a spire or two. We've long known the spires radiate strong magical fields, and all save the mountain spire connect to the old walls. So it's the sort of thing common folk know from afar, but avoid day to day. Well, short of Tunon giving you orders on pain of death, you have the luxury of acting on your own volition. though the Scarlet Chorus are likely to come for you. Whatever you decide, I'm at your disposal. And I'm thankful to not be a bloody pile of offal in Vendrian's Well. Life under your banner will, I'm sure, prove most interesting. What is it you need? Now we're working with the disfavored. You want my advice? My advice would be to get close to Graven Ash and plunge a poisoned shiv in his ear. Ah, right, I'm speaking out of line. But I don't really know what to say here. I hate the disfavored, but I'm sworn to your cause, so my honest opinion won't do anyone any good. Ask away. You know, I normally charge for this, but for you... Now, you know that's a very personal question. The knowledge I have is a centuries-old gift from the Archon of Tides. I would sooner discard my life than the sanctity of that gift. You know, I normally charge for this, but for you... Ask away. Ask away. We all know how to swim, and we all know how to fight. Most Northmen are lucky to make half that boast. What would you like to know? Aside from the ones you slew, well, the Vendrian Guard were the most staunch opponents of Kairos. With their passing, the Overlord's rule is absolute. Well, aside from the local Archons being in a state of civil war. Was there a particular group you wish to discuss? The Unbroken is the name of the military of the now-fallen realm of Stalwart. Every citizen of Stalwart was trained to fight, and all were expected to answer the rallying cry of the Regents, the ruling small council of the realm. A decade ago, Stalwart was the ass end of jokes Tearsmen would tell each other. The people of Stalwart are obnoxiously proud of a long history of being invaded, but never losing. The disfavored put an end to their vaunted record of victory. The Unbroken still persist, albeit marginally so. The disfavored withdrew after the Edict of Storms began shredding the landscape. Their holdfast of Sentinel Stand Keep was never taken, and the citizen army, though scattered, could still be rallied. Kairos' war was disastrous to the human realm of Azure, but a stroke of good luck for the numerous beastmen that toiled in Azure's endless wheat fields. With the masters all dead, the serfs have been set free. The Stonestalkers are a tribe born from these newly freed beasts. I imagine they would never bow to Kairos or the Archons. Too many generations have been enslaved. I'd wager anything they'll die before they ever bow. Beastmen understand strength and leadership, but it's always in the concrete sense. I can't pretend to know how they think, but I could never imagine them accepting an absent Prima. A distant ruler they can't see or smell seems a bit too abstract. The Bronze Brotherhood is one of the most feared and famous of the Free City mercenary companies. They serve the highest bidder, and during the war, that was Kairos. Most of the Brotherhood perished in the war, but a handful, the crew hired to work at Lethian's Crossing. They got to babysit the Forge-bound and survived the last few years with minor losses. The band is too small to be a serious threat to the disfavored or the chorus, but they are scourge-worshipping berserks that will adopt any enemy for the right price. Maybe even Kairos. Several sages came to our aid during the Second Battle of Vendrian's Well. I at first thought they meant to kill me, but instead they put their lives on the line for us. They spoke of others in their guild braving the Edict of Fire to salvage lore from the burning library. Though I may find them untrustworthy, it must be said that the sages have a certain fearlessness toward the Overlord. Perhaps that could be kindled further. Historically speaking, an alliance with the School of Ink and Quill is just asking to have your efforts stolen and your goals undermined. Mark my words, some things never change. Well, perhaps we can shove them in front of the enemy. And the ones that volunteered at Vendrian's Well weren't all bad. Ask away. Not entirely sure. Which is to say, there was a time I studied my enemy in great detail, but I've recently come to learn that much of my information was little more than lies and misdirection. Ask away. I know a great deal of the mages of the Tiers, or at least their history. Most are dead now. I know a little less about the guilds sworn to Kairos' archons, but I try to make an effort to know my opposition. Ask away. My one concern with Barrick is that he's still loyal to Graven Ash and not to you. Beric seems steadfast, faithful, and dependable. But if it comes down to you versus Graven Ash, therein lies the test. We should consider ourselves fortunate that one of the most deadly members of the Scarlet Furies considers you a suitable gang leader. That said, I think her involvement with you is entirely suspect. I would wager good money the voices of Neratis listening through her, or perhaps seeing what she sees. Probably the only word thief I haven't wanted to dismember. Him, I'd merely flay with an ice knife. Ask away. What is it you need?
At least in theory, I'm supposed to be observing history and not getting myself wrapped into it. All the same, this is the thrill of a lifetime. Rarely does one stand so close to monumental moments in the making. If given the choice between a multifaceted hive mind of treachery and a surly old soldier, General Grumps is the wiser choice. It's patently obvious which Archon is truly loyal to Kairos. So, I must ask, are you planning on taking sides in the Civil War? Or do you have other plans? Your plans are your own, until they plunge the rest of us into misfortune. But I shall not pry, not now, at least. Know that your actions at Vendrian's Well have earned you the attention of the Tears. Your reputation will attract opportunity and disaster, likely in uneven measures. Whatever you do next, consider that many eyes will be upon you, for you have both delivered and taken away the Overlord's edicts, and few will know how to make sense of the latter. You are an exception the Archons cannot afford to ignore. They will likely aim to control or destroy you. Most of Kairos' edicts were either worded to end in a manner of the Overlord's choosing, or the edicts have simply continued in perpetuity. That's not to say there haven't been stories of broken edicts. They're just uncommon. The oldest is, I think, Golbraith and the Edict of Sorrows, and that tale dates back to around the year 110. Aside from you, the most recent was the Edict of Twisting Grasses, back in 380. In all these stories, Kairos' edict very clearly gives its victim a single way to escape, and someone manages it. What's never happened is the pure abatement of an edict, like using a spell of warding or cancel. Of course, how can I help? The spires predate us all. As far as I know, we're the only ones who've been up here since... ever? I think this might be a first. Perhaps the real Trailblazer had trouble getting down and was lost to history. Of course, how can I help? The spires Of course, how can I help? Are you asking for an objective assessment? Or is this your way of saying you want to gossip? He is a proper Northman, with duty in his blood, which makes me suspect his loyalty to Ash is stronger than his loyalty to you. As long as your interests remain aligned to Graven Ash, this shouldn't be an issue. I must admit, I am completely fascinated by his predicament. Ever tried diagramming the articulations of his armor? Don't. It'll only lead to madness and ruination. I know little of swordplay, and couldn't work a curve and arrow to save my life. I can't really comment on the lady.
Lady? You're just afraid to talk in front of me, clear as day. Your sweat is easier to read than your ink scribbles.
No, not at all. I just don't know how to comment on a warrior's worth, that's all.
Spare me your blather. Huh. Think that, do you? Didn't know you had such swollen hope for me. Just calling it as I see it, and I see he's holding back. Nothing serious, just a bit insulting.
A most fascinating specimen. I think she has great potential. A dangerous amount of potential, to be blunt. The Scarlet Furies are the fighting elite of the Scarlet Chorus, and that means floating to the top of a sea of blood and chum. We should consider ourselves lucky to have her on our side, with her weapons usually pointed away from us. Good tidecasters stay underwater. Kairos did the Tears a favor by erasing those moon howlers from history. A shame one of them escaped justice.
I like that I make you this agitated. Considering all the things that don't seem to bother you in the slightest. I'm not gonna lie. I'm kind of getting off on how much power you're giving me here.
And then there's your coquettish act whenever someone calls you on your teeth. I'll be the one ready to tangle when, not if, you decide to pounce. I am nothing if not a semi-reliable font of knowledge. What did you want to... I am nothing if not a semi-reliable font of knowledge. What did you want to discuss? And I'd be happy to oblige. Ever since the fall of the Vellum Citadel, it is hard to find someone with whom I can discuss such things. Edicts are the strongest manifestation of magic we know, and they seem to violate all other lesser phenomena. No dispel cantrip has ever dented or abated an edict. Even archons with powers of great durability cannot shrug off their effects. Just look at Cairn. Now, what I find curious, edicts can flex a little. Or so my studies suggest this is the case. Take the Edict of Storms. While the day it was proclaimed was the most violent, the actual radius of the storm has changed over time. But most will have none of my hypotheses on this matter. So, in my studies, some edicts resolve some problem of the overlords and then vanish into history. But the edicts that linger around, almost all of them begin to widen. Their effects become more intense. Here's the intriguing part. The older the edict, and the more that's written about it, the more the reports of that edict get more dire over time. Something to that effect, at least. I contend that edicts are powered by fear. Fear of Kairos helps fuel the casting, and fear of the edict feeds the magic, sustaining it, and, if enough people fear it, even growing it a bit. I thought just that, but wherever an edict is cast or has been cast, the land will always hum with a little background noise, if your ear's trained to listen. If anything, it seems edicts add more magic into the world, not the other way around. Intellectual honesty demands that I study the matter more. If I'm correct, the more people fear and obsess over an edict, the stronger it becomes. Anyway, another study for another time. And I'd be happy to oblige. Ever since the fall of the Vellum Citadel. And I'd be happy to oblige. I've forgotten more than most blood chanters have ever learned. What do you want to know? I think you know all I can teach you.
I cannot. I am a shield wall unto myself!
Fall before me! Can't stop! Wait up, you little shit!
I will aid you.
Wake me up when it's over.
I got it.
Someone staunch my bleeding.
On it.
I'd have it no other way. I'll do it for the North.
What is wrong with my weapon?
I will aid you. Someone staunch my bleeding! So heavy. Can't move. You cannot win!
On it.
I'd have it no other way.
Look at that! Use your force. That's a negative.
Are you afraid of death?
As you wish.
That was beneath me.
What the fuck is wrong with my weapon? You die on me! Hope you fancy red. You got it. Look at that! Future course. No.
Going down!
Come at me, grave meat.
I will aid you.
We can do this!
Ready? staunch my bleeding. That was beneath me.
You got it.
I'm going down!
On it. Will do.
Good work!
Will do.
Oh, I'm enjoying this a bit too much.
Graven Ash. Spotted something. Graven Ash protects.
all in the reflexes.
I cannot. Let's be off.
Have a look here. Quite down.
I'll stay downwind of our enemies. No can do. You see what I see?
My mother always told me to stay away from spires. Not that I ever listened.
Study carefully the glyphs. They're gibberish to me, but I know magic when I see it.
I got it. I got it.
No reason to tarry. graven ash protects. Negative. Fatebinder. Let's have it then. Let's have it then.
look. Father has returned. Have I gotten out of line? Have you come to punish me? Am I a bad girl? Or do you just want to use my power? Do you remember me, Fatebinder? Now don't disappoint me. We worked together at the Vellum Citadel. You used my voice to subdue those naughty sages who tried to escape. Not that I mind them trying to protect me, even if they don't really mean it. I suppose you're here to tell me I can't gather another flock? If some people want to worship me, is that really such a bad thing? Is Kairos so insecure to worry about a little competition? Look at me! Do you think I seem dangerous? What harm can a 15-year-old girl cause? I'm only a child! I'd say it's annoying, but don't you think it's kind of flattering to have everyone wanting me so desperately? Kairos, the voices of Nerat, Tunon, you? Things never change, do they? The faces are different, but the words keep repeating. The girl has such power. Use her voice, it can bring down realms. Such might in one so young. No one gives a claw about me. I don't know why you would be any different. Everyone wants the same thing. My help, my power, my voice. You will do no such thing. Remove my helmet. Really? Nothing at all? What a disappointment. Not to mention colossal waste of effort on my part. Probably spreading myself too thin trying to keep them all under my thrall. I hoped you would assist me in a delicate matter, but it appears you're no use to me at all. Keeping up the act can be a bit tiring at times. I've been the songbird for so long, I've forgotten how to be anything else. Why on earth would you want that? I can't imagine you're doing it out of the goodness of your heart. Oh, Tunon must have had a hand in this. Or Nerat. Maybe I'd rather stay here where people won't insist on ordering me around all the time. Although, you did activate one of the spires, so your power is something I could learn from, and you are right. I'm certainly not going to make any significant advances staying here with a bunch of nobodies worshipping me. Watching you in action could give me the edge I need to unlock a spire of my own. Fine. I will allow you the glorious gift of my presence in your party. Well then, let's go. If you're going to teach me the wonder...
Goodbye to you too. As far as gangs go,
Be
I've
seen,
seen worse.
Fatebinder.
I got it. That wasn't so hard. Will do.
You call yourselves officers of Kairos' army, but your conduct falls short of my expectations. The court finds your accounts of Vendrian's well lacking, rife with misdirection and fallacy, fouled with baseless accusation. Silence! The contradictions in your statements will be examined, and falsities threshed from truths. If we find you have perjured yourselves, Bled and Mark will see to your fate. Fatebinder, we will start with the matter of the Archons. Graven Ash and the Voices of Nerat have declared war upon each other. In addition to violating Kairos' peace, they have thrown the conquest of the Tears into disarray. By all accounts, these hostilities began shortly after your arrival. Tell us what transpired. The Fatebinder presents testimony. I warn you both against speaking out of turn. Something more than a mere disagreement unraveled this campaign, but I will return to that in time. Let us speak of Ascension Hall. The disfavored sing your praises across the realm, though the Scarlet Chorus appeal for charges of treason. Perhaps you can offer a more enlightened account. An efficient solution, the type I would expect from a capable agent. Tell me though, with the edict looming overhead and death the price of failure, why not employ the numerical advantage of the Scarlet Chorus? I will consider this testimony at length. The court thanks you for it. Is there anything you wish to add at this time? Your testimony is accepted by the court. The statements of our guests raise questions in my mind. There is much about this campaign that has caused me to wonder. A shipment of iron weapons was short on arrival. Where coveted iron is concerned, I don't believe it to be a clerical error. One of my agents recovered this seal in Echo Call. It belongs to a merchant collective. Lethian's Crossing is teeming with their kind. If you would root out treachery, I would advise starting there. Petitioners, leave us. I would have a private audience with the Fatebinder. Ascend and join me. You will find the way opened. This civil war, this feud, is an insult to Kairos' peace. It should not have taken the better part of a year to silence the last vestiges of the Oathbreakers. Our allies squabble while our enemies regroup. It falls upon the court to measure the extent of the damage, and to execute the agents of disorder. I suspect that treachery, negligence, disunity, and greed have infected one or both of our esteemed allies. Until you are instructed otherwise, this matter is the court's primary focus. Graven Ash and the Voices of Nerat must be examined in close detail. You are charged with observing the Archons and presenting your case that one of them has wrought chaos and disorder upon the Tiers. It's possible, but the momentum of the conquest up to this point suggests otherwise. The failure at Vendrian's Well implies a coordinated will behind the chaos. As always, you will be held accountable for what you do in the court's name, but you are free to conduct your investigation in the manner of your choosing. You must expect lies, misdirection, and manipulation. Suffer not such obstructions of justice. The disfavored seem the logical first step in your inquiry. The Legion holds you in some esteem. Engraven Ash has shown deference to the court in times past. No doubt the disfavored will be rife with accusations and evidence against the voices of Nerat. Graven Ash is a noble man, but never underestimate his capacity for deception. A wise general succeeds by knowing when to be unreadable to the enemy. You should, of course, speak with the Scarlet Chorus and gather their testimony, but it stands to reason that most in the chorus would sooner brag about a pauldron fashioned from your skull than entertain your questions. Do not regret killing the rabble that impede your investigation. They will be easily replaced. I concur. Graven Ash has a reputation for honor and nobility, but nobody is above reproach. If he is guilty of treachery in some fashion, his loyal soldiers will not be the ones to betray him. But if anyone is conducting a symphony of lies, common sense would point to the voices of Nerat. Your fellow Fatebinders have been busy acting as my eyes and ears. I have a few leads for you to follow. You should, of course, speak with your brothers and sisters of the court if you need further counsel. The disfavored have made use of the Sage's network of dovecotes and messenger birds as they come under capture. I've heard multiple claims of strategic communications gone missing. The Sages are broken, their citadel in flames, but they were not slaughtered to the last. Some of their numbers still congregate around the smoking husk of their burning library. If they have been reading disfavored communications, learn what they learned, then execute them. There is a final matter to discuss, a sensitive topic. In spite of the many shortcomings at Vendrian's Well, you managed to make a name for yourself. You proclaimed an Edict of Kairos, resolved its demanding conditions, and ascended the mountain spire. Any one of these feats would be worthy of recognition by the highest authority. You managed to accomplish 3. Your sense of obligation to your role is admirable, but modesty will not recommend you to the task ahead. Whether by design or by accident, you have captured the attention of Kairos' army and the local tiersmen alike. This is no small opportunity, and the court charges you with exploiting your new standing to its fullest potential. You have a title in our hierarchy. However, it's a little-known secret that one's standing in the world is determined by their infamy, their deeds, and how they come to be known. Mind this notion as you bring justice to this lawless frontier. There may come a time when your deeds speak for you louder than any title. Whatever you did to capture the attention of the masses at Vendrian's Well, I would encourage you to do so again. Good. It falls to us to set a new standard for these southern barbarians. You are dismissed. Should the court have need of your presence, you will receive word. Go forth and do my bidding, and bring glory and honor to the Tiers in Kairos' name.
On it.